Kenneth Branagh's Belfast opens in theaters to Oscar buzz as Stranger Things 4 finally gets a release date. Disney tangles with vaccine mandates and IMAX home streaming. Aaron Sorkin's next film gets a trailer, and the founder of Young Entertainment Professionals stops by to chat. I'm Joe Acierno.
And I'm Darius Delsoin. This is Cinema Unchained. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 30 of Cinema Unchained. And first and foremost, we have here Trevor Romero, the founder of Young Entertainment Professionals. So, just to start off the morning, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a bit early here. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning because I'm on the West Coast. But I wake up pretty early, so uh, this is good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for being
Awesome.
with us. Despite the early time, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yep. So yeah, so I know I've been part of your group for quite some time now, pretty much I think a year by this point, which is Young Entertainment Professionals. And one of the questions I did have in mind for you is, what got you interested in pursuing a career in the media and entertainment industry as a whole? Like, what was so magnetic to that industry for you to be like, I need to be a part of it?
Yeah, I've always been really interested in movies. I think when I was a little kid, I watched a lot of classic movies. That was kind of the gateway into loving the film industry was through those classic films. And then throughout high school, I was really involved with my school's film club. And so a lot of my friends were making movies, and I made, a ton of short films, like little commercials and stuff with my friends during high school. And so that's what made me want to then pursue a career in the entertainment industry. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew that this was definitely the industry I wanted to go into.
That's awesome. So, and you mentioned that you have like friends basically making films. So, is film your main thing that you want to do as well, or is it a mixture of maybe commercial, media, multimedia stuff? Like, what's your niche in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I want to go into film. Film and television, I would say,
Film and
is
television.
is what I'm looking at. I had worked for a while before going to college. I had worked for a couple of years in between school, and I had worked in a multimedia company making commercials, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really good way to learn, but I ultimately found that at the end of the day, I wanted to go into the actual movie industry, because that's what originally inspired me to get into it.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So, with young entertainment professionals, and one of the things I've noticed with that group is they're all relatively my age, or, Joe's age, your age, whatever. A lot of young people up and coming. So, and I know during the pandemic, it's been a lot of trouble for a lot of people to try and network or get gigs, that sort of thing. So, for you
Mm.
as founder, what does this organization mean to you, and what motivated you to start this organization up?
Yeah, so I had basically to kind of go through a little bit of my story. I had uh, originally gone to film school at San Francisco State. I then, after a year, I left San Francisco State and decided I just wanted to go straight into the movie industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved to Los Angeles not knowing anyone. And my family's not in the entertainment industry. I grew up in San Diego, which is about 2 hours away from Los Angeles. And so I didn't know anyone in the industry. And during that time, I was freelancing as a production assistant, and I was trying to meet people, trying to network with people. And I always loved going to networking events in person. This was a couple years ago. Um, I loved going to networking events, but the issue was that, I was 19 years old, and most of these people at these events were like 30 plus years old. I would say maybe even older than that. That's sadly when a lot of people start to realize that networking is really important,
Mhm.
even though it's actually really important when you're first starting out. And so I kind of saw that trend that there wasn't that much networking or that many events for young people. Then I decided that I was going to go back to college. And I thought, wow, this is going to be such a great opportunity to get my own network, to create a network. Um, and of course, the pandemic happened.
Of
And
course.
so yeah, so it was very difficult to uh, then create a network at school when everything was virtual. Well, during this time, I had um, been going to all these events. They had these webinars for like NBC Universal, Warner Brothers, all the major studios basically had these recruitment events for students. And I noticed that a lot of the people that were going to these events were also in the same boat as me. They were like, how do I network with people? How do I find people that are also interested in this? Um, some of them had never even got the opportunity to go to school in person. So at these events, people would always create these like Facebook pages, these Facebook groups, or these LinkedIn groups to kind of try and network with the people at the event. The problem was that like 2 days after the event was over, um, the page would be dead because all the hype around the page was because of the event. And so I figured out that why don't we create a page for all of the events, like all of the young people that are coming to these events and are sort of in the same situation. Um, and so that's how I created the Young Entertainment Professionals. It was just a LinkedIn page where I would put the link to the LinkedIn page like in the chat, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, I just created this LinkedIn page. Do you want to join it?" And then we would get like 500 people signing up from the webinars because they just see it in the chat and then sign up for that. And it turned out that this group was very active. A lot of these people, of course, have the same interests or, as you mentioned, the same age. And so the popularity of the group just kept growing and growing, and people were inviting their friends, telling each other about it. And then people started messaging me being like, when are we going to have our own networking event? Because all these people came from these other networking events. And I'm like, I have no idea. This is not the purpose of what I thought was happening here. Um, but I decided to go with it. And so we had our first virtual networking event about a year and a half ago. And I didn't know if anyone was going to show up. Turns out like 70 plus people showed up to this event. Oh, you were one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was just quiet.
oh, okay.
You should have marked
You're
the
just
date there.
lurking in the background. That's funny. Wow. Yeah, so we had our first event. It was quite successful. And so we decided that we were going to do them each month. And so we did an event every month for last year. We did it every month. And each event was networking based. And that created a really good community. The page grew a lot. My following grew a lot on LinkedIn. And I kept getting a lot of questions from people like, how do I break into the industry? How do I network with people and stuff? So I started putting out my own content being like, here's things you should do. And I'm not an expert. I'm, an intern. I have gotten a couple of good internships, but I'm still beginning my career as well, of course. And so there was an opportunity at UC Irvine to become a leader of a club, which is the Business Careers and Entertainment Club. And so I became the vice president of that club, even though had never even gone to the school in person. Wasn't really part of this club. It was just because I had all these connections. And then I was able to create like a mutually beneficial deal with them where basically I would bring in guest speakers from the Young Entertainment Professionals into the club. And then we would be able to stream those events back to the Young Entertainment Professionals, because that way I could bring in experts who actually know what they're talking about and can educate the Young Entertainment Professionals about how to make it in the film industry. And so we've been doing that. The past couple of months, we've had an event every single week. And they've been really successful. And I'm looking forward to being able to grow that further in the in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've
So
definitely
that's
mentioned
kind of the evolution.
sorry.
Oh no, it's all good.
So you mentioned having to deal with certain things with regards to the pandemic when it came to starting up young entertainment professionals. Are there any other hurdles that you can recollect that you had to overcome in the inception of this organization?
I think, there's been minor hurdles such as, we'll throw an event and then there'll be like 10 people that show up. And so that's kind of been, one of the things, especially when you're hosting events that are every single week, people can't always attend them. And so when that does happen, we try and figure out, what went wrong with that. Was it the day? Was it the time? Was it the speaker? Was the promotion not good?
Mm-hmm.
And so we try and figure that out. Another thing I would say, probably two biggest things were one, scaling the organization, because originally I was the only person uh, working on this and in charge of this for the first couple of months. And I just found, we got so many people. We have over 6,000 people on LinkedIn, plus our other platforms. We have a website and an Instagram, and a newsletter. And so doing all these things took a lot of my time. I mean, this is basically like a full-time job with the young entertainment professionals, recruiting the guest speakers, doing the networking events, posting on LinkedIn. And so I really couldn't do it all myself. And so I was able to recruit some people from the group to be volunteers to help out with the events. And that learning how to lead them and organize them and delegate things, I think was probably one of the biggest challenges. And then the other thing is that I'm still trying to figure out if, and this has been something that I've thought about for a long time, is I want to be able to grow the young entertainment professionals, but also we don't make any money. Like, I fully fund the young entertainment professionals out of technically out of my business, out of my production company, and I use it as basically as a promotional effort for myself. But I would like it to be able to make money for the reason that I want to be able to grow it and to be able to offer more value to people. The conflict here, though, is that I don't want to have to charge people for this. I don't want to have to, have people pay, especially for virtual events. I don't want to have them pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that reason, that's kind of been a struggle, is figuring out how can we grow sustainably, but also make money, because it's better if we don't it's better if we don't charge anything, if we can grow the group faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's more important to me than making money with it. And obviously, because we haven't made any money really with the group, other than
Same here on this podcast, man. I mean,
Yeah.
It didn't work. We're trying
Yeah.
to figure that out. Been trying to figure that out for about a year now, but we'll get there eventually.
Well, the only way that I figured out how to make money with it is that, I guess this is a good thing to mention, is that I do like consulting. So people have hired me because of the young entertainment professionals and because of the content I put out and because of this expertise that I've gotten from interviewing so many people and from talking to so many people. And so that's kind of the way that I figured out to make some money with it, so that, I can continue to grow it. But that being said, that's basically just me selling my time to then put it into the organization, which is, what I was doing before. But I do like the idea of, being able to help people, then them paying me, and then me basically putting that money back into helping them. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Because you've mentioned growth really with young entertainment professionals, and that's one of the things that gravitated me so much towards this organization was that it grew so fast. You're at, like you said, 6,000 subscribers, or really, members. That's amazing. So many people following and talking to you and communicating, and that's and every time you've had an event, I would be like, oh man, I'm working, dang it. Or I'm on a set, dang it. But yes, and going into what you were talking about, growth, how going to 2022, obviously this year's coming to a close. Hopefully everything is uplifting, new year, next year. What plans do you have for young entertainment professionals, and how do you plan on growing it even more, as well as the variety of content you want to produce under it?
Yeah, I think that the exciting thing about next year, for me personally, is that I'm graduating from college, and
congrats.
I think, yeah. So one major thing is that I want people to be able to kind of follow my journey of figuring out how to get that first entry level job in the industry, because that's really tough. And I want to be able to offer advice to people as I'm learning how to do that. And so I think that's going to help me grow my own following. In regard to the young entertainment professionals, next year we have the same thing lined up where each week we're doing a guest speaker. My hope is to bring in even more high profile guest speakers to the club. The great thing is that doing the guest speakers the past couple of months, we've been able to generate a lot of buzz amongst people. And so there's been a lot of people reaching out to me being like, hey, I want to be a guest speaker for your club. And if they are a more high profile person, that's really advantageous for us. And so I'm hoping to next year be able to do more high profile people. And then also I've noticed that our most popular events, not surprisingly, are recruiter events. And so I want to be able to integrate that a lot more. And there's been a lot of interest from recruiters looking at young entertainment professionals because it's such low hanging fruit for them. They can post things in the group and get a ton of applications for their internships, for their early career programs. And so I want to be able to leverage that and be able to get more recruiters as speakers and just as members in the group. And then, of course, as I mentioned, I'm graduating this year. So my goal is to move to Los Angeles. And at that point, I want to be able to host young entertainment professionals events in person. And so that's kind of where, after this year, we're growing really fast this year, and we're getting a lot more credibility because of the guest speakers. And then my goal is, after that, to be able to convert this into an in-person network of people, because virtual networking is great, and we built this platform on it, but also the entertainment industry is built on in-person relationships, essentially. And so I'm moving to Los Angeles. A lot of the people in my group are in Los Angeles already. And I want to be able to bring them all together. And I think a lot of people haven't been able to meet up with each other in person yet. But I want to be able to facilitate that. So that's kind of where we're moving everything towards.
Okay, all right, Joe. We have a trip next year.
So I guess kind of shifting gears a little bit when it comes to, I guess, just talking about just the film and the filmmaking process in general. I know you said there was a time when you really did not know exactly what it is that you wanted to do in the film industry, but is there a certain part of the process that you feel like you gravitate towards the most? Is it, towards the production end of things? Is it cinematography? Is it writing, editing, anything along those lines that really sticks out to you the most?
Yeah, 1 second. I had. Well, right now I'm a development intern, so that's been really interesting because during the summer, I got my first development internship, which was at Gunpowder and Sky. And before doing that internship, I honestly had no idea what development was. And it's weird because I think there's a lot of people in the group that do development, which is great. But outside of the group, like my friends in the industry, a lot of them don't even know what that is, what development is. And I would highly recommend that anyone who's interested in a creative pursuit in the industry, unless it's something like very craft specific, but say you want to be a director, a producer, a writer, even maybe an actor, I would say a development internship is really where it's at, because you just read scripts all day, and it's really you really dive deep into what makes a good story, and I think that's probably the most important thing. So the reason I mention that is because development is definitely something that I'm interested in and potentially pursuing as a career. I've also been intrigued with the agency route, being potentially a literary agent, like a motion picture lit agent. And so I completed the United Talent Agency externship program recently, and that really got me interested in potentially going to an agency after graduation. That could be another interesting route. I would say my overall goal is, I don't know how long this would take or where down the line this kind of exists, but my goal is to produce movies. I've always wanted to be a producer on films, and I know there's lots of different ways that can manifest itself. So I'm kind of just gearing sort of everything towards that final goal. And I'm also interested in making my own films. I am currently producing a short film right now that's called Hell Is Here. And I started working on it during the summer. I flew out to Dallas to work on this short film. It's directed and written by one of my best friends from high school. And that was a really cool experience. And it definitely reminded me, because I've been doing more of like development stuff. It definitely reminded me how much I love like actually making films, working on that set. And I got to, direct a couple of scenes. And so that was really reminded me, oh yes, I think at heart I am a creative person, even if I am interested in like the business side in terms of producing. So I kind of want to find something that's, I know it's hard, but finding something that's both business oriented and creative, and probably involved in development and involved in production, because I also worked in production and also love post-production. So there's like a million different things.
So you love it all, is what I'm hearing.
That I'm interested. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything I don't love. I don't love sound.
Sound sucks.
Like all three of us don't like sound.
Oh god, the migraines,
especially
on
set.
sound. Yeah, on set too. It's got to be the worst. Because then you got to tangle with like every little bit of noise that nature has to offer too, or like whatever background noise. Because like I remember when we were filming most recent short film that Darius and I did, Playboy Park Slope. We were filming in Brooklyn Bridge Park, and how many people would like just like walk through, just like talking at the top of their lungs, or like the amount of times like just like one of those random, I guess like landscaping cars or whatever would just like buzz through like as we were trying to film something. So sound is the worst. I hate sound so much. Like, like I really hope I can attach myself to like a really good sound person. Like I will worship that person for as long as I'm above ground.
Yeah. What I've realized is that there's certain things you really want to spend money on. Sound is definitely one of those things. I think getting a good composer is really good. I think that the short films that I've made have been extremely low budget short films, really just things that we have funded just out of our own pocket, and we don't have a ton of money, so it's most of them have come out to be like $500, $1,000 budgets, the whole thing. And so what I'm looking forward to though is that I have seen that, like, I think it's worth it to spend money on your films, especially if you're going to use them as a calling card. And I'm looking forward to be able to hire out a lot of things, like being able to hire out a sound person.
Yeah, no, and again, like, I think, going back to what you're saying as far as, like, budgets and stuff like that too, I think the point that we're at in our careers is that, the more we can do with less, like, imagine what we can do with more. Because I think when you have less to work with, in terms of money, it forces you to be more creative. So again, that's why I say too, if you can come up with gold from very little, imagine what you can do when the time comes that you do have a lot to work with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of the idea that, all these films that we've made so far, I've made, I don't know, at least 10 short films. They're all just practice. They're all just, I haven't made a short film really that we put our full effort into, or full budget into, like how you would actually want it to be a professional short film. And so I'm looking forward to, working at that level, that we can make something that's actually of extremely high quality. Because I know that we can make things that are decent quality from, a very low budget.
So before we move forward to, like, the next thing that we want to talk about, that I know you're going to be talking about with us, the trailer for Being the Riccardos, where can where can people join Young Entertainment Professionals, and how can they continue to support it?
Yeah, definitely. So we have our group. The most active is on LinkedIn. So if you search for Young Entertainment Professionals, you can find the group on there. And another way to find it is through our website, which is youngentertainmentpros.com. Someone had taken Young Entertainment Professionals, so youngentertainmentpros.com is our website. And on there we have a calendar, so you can join our weekly events through the website. And then another way is by subscribing to our newsletter. I think probably the easiest way is to subscribe using the link on the website. There's a link to subscribe to the newsletter there. And then on Instagram, we have Young Entertainment Pros again. So you can follow us on Instagram, and we post all our updates on there as well.
Gotcha. All right, well, I know what I'm doing when we're done recording today. All right, so moving forward, the trailer for the next film from writer-director Aaron Sorkin, who's also given us the Trial of the Chicago 7, Molly's Game, wrote the script for The Social Network, created The West Wing. I could go on and on and on. His next film just got a trailer, and it's basically a biopic that follows Lucille Ball's marriage with Desi Arnaz as on the edge due to personal and professional crises as they present themselves. So now, Trevor, again, you're the guest. I'm going to ask you, what'd you think of this one? You're going to go first.
The trailer? Well, I love Aaron Sorkin. I think that
Me too.
I've been a fan of basically all of his films. I think Trial of the Chicago 7 was probably my least favorite. So I'm really interested to see. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where he takes this next movie. This does seem like this. Based off what I saw in the trailer, it seems like he's definitely kind of going back more to his roots, and that I'm really intrigued to see where he takes something that's so high profile, like Lucille Ball, and how he works with like characters that are so iconic. I mean, obviously he's done it before with like The Social Network. I think that was part of the intrigue of seeing that movie, was to see how Mark Zuckerberg was going to be portrayed.
Yep.
And I'm also intrigued for the same reason to see how Lucille Ball is going to be portrayed by Nicole Kidman. So I think I'll definitely be seeing this movie. I think that this is definitely my wheelhouse as well because I love movies that are about the film industry, and so this one intrigued me because you see a lot of movies about the 1950s in the movie industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think though while I was watching this trailer. I feel like there's not actually been that many movies about like television during that time, and what it was like to work in the so-called golden age of television.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested to see how that's being portrayed as well.
But it's funny that you mentioned that, like that there don't seem to be a lot of films as far as television during that time. There's a movie. Have you ever seen the film Quiz Show?
Quiz Show, yeah, I love Quiz Show.
Oh, great movie. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just want to make sure. I was going to recommend it, but don't have to, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that is in. I think it does take place in the 1950s, but
Mm-hmm.
also I don't think that's what people think of when they think of the golden age of television. They're thinking of like I Love Lucy,
Mm-hmm.
like The Twilight Zone, like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, like those type of shows that were extremely popular during the time. And it's definitely interesting to see like how they're going to portray it if knowing what we know now about the film industry during that time, if they're going to portray it in a very romanticized way, because I think that's the way we've seen it portrayed, or if Aaron Sorkin is very I think critical a lot of times of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to know if he's going to portray it in maybe a less idealistic way. I noticed. Are we going to talk about the trailer, or like, should I be talking about the trailer?
Yeah, you can talk about the trailer, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in the trailer, there's some moments where Lucille Ball it seems like struggling with some mental or emotional issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that. Oh, by the way, I love Lucy. I grew up watching I Love Lucy, and so I know a lot about Lucille Ball and sort of the dynamic that existed there. And what's interesting is that Lucille Ball did struggle with a lot of these issues. At the time, I don't think they really saw it
Mm-hmm.
because everything was very polished and kind of manicured persona. But what's kind of interesting about the trailer is that they seem to be exploring maybe some of those issues that she was having. And I also think another thing I read one time was that Lucille Ball wasn't very funny off screen. I don't know if you guys have
I've never heard that before.
That really, like that she was really good at performing, and that the writers were really good at writing, but that she was kind of a I don't want to say depressed, but like kind of a not a super upbeat person.
Really?
And so I'm interested to see if that's how they're going to portray her in this movie. If it's going to be like, oh, when she's on camera, she's one person, and then when she's off camera, she's another person. Because I think that's actually accurate to what she was like.
It's funny too. I do think I'm sure there are a bunch of celebrities out there that have their personal persona, and then they have their on-screen persona.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading the same thing about Walt Disney.
Oh,
there was the way he was when he was in front of the camera, and then there was the way he was when they stopped hitting record. So I think that, and I think that if that's the route that they go about with portraying Lucille Ball, I feel like that'd be more interesting to explore that sort of contrast too, because I think that would give us just like a better idea as far as like the person that she is and how she handles certain situations too. Like there's who you are like when you're by yourself, and then there's who you are when you're in front of everybody else too, right? But
Sure.
But again, like just in terms of this trailer, like I do need to I'll probably end up watching this. I do need to see a little bit more to be like, oh man, I can't wait for this. Like I know you said you weren't crazy about the trial of Chicago 7. I honestly loved it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I remember with like the bits of marketing that were given to us, I'm like, okay, I need to see this. Like, I can't wait for this to come out. And I'm not feeling that with being the Riccardos quite yet, but I hope I'm wrong because, again, it is Aaron Sorkin. By and large, I got to say he knows what he's doing. He definitely knows how to write a screenplay. So I'm not expecting less from
Yeah.
him, but just in terms of this trailer, like I wasn't super excited.
Yeah. Do you mean the trailer for the Chicago 7 that intrigued you more? Because I will
Yeah.
say the trailers were interesting for that movie.
Mhm.
I was more disappointed in the movie because I think sometimes Aaron Sorkin's best work is when he strikes a good balance between critiquing society and also having great characters and a great story. To me, the Chicago 7, it was a little bit too heavy-handed with like the political messages he was getting across. And obviously Aaron Sorkin is going to always have some sort of political messages in his films. He is a very politicized filmmaker, and I love a lot of the things that are more politicized that he does, like The Social Network, or one of my favorite shows is The Newsroom. But also, I just felt like the Chicago 7, to me, the focus was too much on the politics of it. And it is a political issue, but I just was like, there's not like a super strong character here. There's not a super strong through line. It's more, I think he's trying to make a message, versus like his previous movie, Molly's Game. I thought Molly's Game was absolutely fantastic. It's just pure entertainment the whole time, and I love it.
Molly's Game.
Yeah,
Molly's Game is a great movie.
Yeah, for me, when I saw this trailer, at first I was a bit hesitant because it didn't seem like something I would personally go out to watch. But the more they talked about the golden age, and I saw, golden age of television, and, as you guys were talking about, but then what really kind of almost sold me, and if not, I'm still more intrigued, is really the psyche of the main character, as you guys were saying, because it looked like she was going through stuff that, to me, I've went through stuff in my own personal life, so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm intrigued. I'm really interested. I kind of want to see this, and even seeing how the television industry was operating back then as well, potentially. So for me, I thought I really enjoyed the trailer. I like the tone. I like the aesthetic, very much so. The set design I think is fantastic because I thought I felt like I was there. So that was a big thing for me too. So I'm very actually intrigued with this to see what Aaron Sorkin does, because I love The Social Network and I love Trial of Chicago 7 too. Those two were just like, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I was just like, this is thrilling in ways I didn't expect it to be. So I'm pretty intrigued with this one. I'm excited to see his approach and how he handles biopics like these characters. So I'm very much intrigued.
So now. It's set to go into theaters December 10th, and it's set to go on Amazon Prime December 21st. Do you guys think that you're going to watch this just on Amazon Prime, or do you guys see yourself actually going to the theaters to watch this?
I would go to the theaters, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever actually seen an Aaron Sorkin movie in the movie theater, so I think that would be really cool.
I saw Molly's Game in theaters. I remember those. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I think I might actually. Either that or Amazon Prime, depends on... I think for me, it's really going to depend on my mood on the same day. And if I want to go to the theater, if I don't, then I'll be like, you know what? It's on Amazon Prime. I'll just watch it on Amazon Prime. But if you're going to go, Joe, you know what? I'll come with you, Yeah,
I know. I guess I'm just going to have to drag you along. If you really twisted my arm, then I guess I'm going to have to make you come with me.
It is interesting, though, looking at the trailer, like, this doesn't look like a super large movie.
No, definitely not.
It looks like it's quite contained. And I don't know that it's going to be... It looks really nice, but I don't know it's going to be as visually spectacular as some other... I mean, Aaron Sorkin's movies, I think they're always sort of contained, and I feel like you can enjoy them both at the movie theater or on a smaller screen. So I don't think I'd have a problem watching it on the smaller screen. I would like to go see it at the movie theater just so I can see it sooner. That's the only reason.
Yeah, that's the thing I did with The Irishman too, because like I remember it came out in November 2019, came out like November 1st or 2nd in theaters, and like a few weeks later on Netflix, and I'm like, nah, I need to see this in theaters. Because like I just don't want to wait that much longer. I also don't want to get spoilers too, because I don't have the best luck in the world when it comes to not getting spoiled for things. So, Trevor.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no. No, I wasn't going to say anything. It's all good.
Okay. So Trevor, thank you so much for being here with us today. Like obviously, everyone knows about young entertainment professionals now. Are there any other ways that people can just follow you and just keep up to date with everything that it is that you're doing?
Yeah, I would say connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is under Trevor Romero. You can also follow my production company on Instagram. It's called Trevrom Films, and I'll post different content on there on things that I'm making. And then you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. That one's also Trevrom Films. You can find it on by searching for it or by looking for like Trevor Films, The Graveyard, which is the latest short film that I produced.
All right. Well, Trevor
Which
Romero,
was
thank you
great,
so
by
much.
the way.
Oh,
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Oh.
I am gonna have to take a look.
Thank you, Darius.
If it truly is the case, I'm gonna have to take a look. But no, I'll definitely check out your stuff, Trevor. And again, like I said, thank you so
Sounds
much for
good.
being on today. It's early by you, so we really appreciate you coming on. So just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Trevor Romero, everybody. All right, so before we dive into the latest bits of news surrounding Disney, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications whether you're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and more. And follow our social media pages that are listed in the description. Now, Slash Film is reporting that Letitia Wright, the star of the Black Panther franchise who plays Shuri, the sister of T'Challa, is refusing to get the COVID-19 jab. This comes as the Biden administration's vaccine mandates for Americans who work for companies with more than 100 or more employees has currently been halted by a federal court. Biden himself is still encouraging private businesses to implement their own vaccine mandates. And I know that, Darius, I'm sure you can attest to this as well, proof of vaccination is mandatory on many sets. And, of course, the Disney production of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever is no exception to this practice, or would it be to the practice, or excuse me, it wouldn't be an exception to the mandate from the Biden administration should that end up being held in court. And it's interesting, too. I remember William mentioning this story when we were driving out to see Dune a couple weeks ago, when we were all going out there together. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, wow, that's interesting. But that was a couple weeks ago. And this is still a story. Like, this is still happening. Like, this article from Slash Film that I read was from, I believe, the 10th. So it's just interesting. And again, what impact do you think that Wright will have, or excuse me, what impact on, the industry do you think this could have in terms of, the vaccine mandates and stuff like that? Do you think it'll cause productions and studios to rethink their policy if more and more people refuse the vaccine? And could someone like Letitia Wright, who's a heavy hitter, again, the lead actress in a very prominent franchise, have that kind of influence on this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think this is now, I think, even a bigger deal for Disney than ever before, because this is Black Panther 2. The late Chadwick Boseman can't, come back for this role, so they, just from that alone, they had to rewrite the script, apparently. They had to make sure Letitia Wright character was going to be the next one. And now, apparently, they're rewriting the script again, and the endings for certain other characters. So it's already, I think that production was already going to be troublesome, unfortunately, because of Chadwick's passing. I think they were like, you know what, let's just keep going. So I think they did handle that well. By, basically saying we're moving on from Chadwick's, we're going to respect his character. But now with Letitia Wright and her view, I think that's just complicating things even further, which is why I also see, they did change their release schedule for multiple movies already. And so I believe Black Panther is one of them. So it's going to be a wait and see. I'm not sure how. Let's see what's really going to be. What's going to happen with Letitia Wright character specifically in this film? I think they are going to part ways. I think Letitia Wright and Disney in general, I think that might happen. And again, this is why I'm saying they're rewriting the ending apparently for that movie and preparing for that possibility. So that's going to be the amount of stuff that's happening with Black Panther. Of all movies, productions, Black Panther is happening. It's just like, this is insane. And we'll also see if other companies will change their mind on the whole vaccine mandate. Again, to me, at this point, it's just a matter of you have a lot of investors, people who've invested time and money into projects. It's a matter of getting that done instead of waiting and waiting, especially if they borrowed money, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, hopefully they're going to want to just make the film. Maybe they'll take the mandate out completely. It's going to be interesting going forward. So
yeah, and again, it's just so strange because, again, someone like her, because you don't just recast someone. Because I remember when it came to when Chadwick Boseman passed away, untimely, he had an untimely passing. I remember there was talk of like, oh, what are they going to do with the T'Challa character? Are they going to recast the T'Challa? I'm thinking to myself, they better fucking not. Because again, like that, because there just comes a point where certain characters are just synonymous with certain actors and certain actresses. And I feel like Shuri, her character, is just synonymous with Letitia Wright. And I just feel like that would be a slap in the face, and not just only the actress who's done the solid job, but to the fans who, really, I guess, they really like her. And, they would just, like, part ways with her because of something like this. Like, I don't know, I feel like that would sit poorly with a lot of people. So, I don't know. I mean, it's strange to say the least. And, again, I hope they don't part ways with her because, again, I like her in the role. But, again, with the way that they seem to be, rewriting the script, I mean, who knows? I mean, could I see Disney pulling the sort of thing where they let her go because of this? Honestly, I could. I honestly could. But, again, it's Disney. They can get away with it, too. It's Black Panther. People are going to go and watch it anyway. So it's not going to be a big enough loss for Disney for them to warrant not letting her go, which is sad when you really think about it.
Yeah, and like you said, people are going to see this movie regardless. Me, I most likely will. This is actually the one I didn't expect to be mixed on the sequel of Black Panther as I am right now. Because of really Chadwick's passing. And to me, it's like, I don't think... It's a part of me where it's like, I wish they didn't do a sequel at all, just because of that, and waited time and just be like, you know what, we'll introduce a new Black Panther in the multiverse from a different universe sort of thing. Yeah. But, again, this...
right, yeah.
But even that
they could
wouldn't fly with me either. Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, it's such a odd thing because obviously we've been on sets and I've been on sets where you have, or they ask you have to be vaccinated. You have to have that card. So seeing that Letitia Wright is so against it and she's just, really, she's not messing around with it. She doesn't want to take it. She doesn't want to do anything. And seeing the problems occur and the fact that they had to stop production on it, I believe, a while ago and then restart it again. I was like, this feels like the Batman all over again. I can't do this. So, I mean, now the question becomes, what's all the other companies going to do? Disney is a prolific company in this industry as well because of the MCU, really. And Pixar, of course.
And Disney, their own animation, too. Like, they do have a lot going under their belt, but, obviously the MCU has only lifted their stock even more.
The biggest ones, exactly. So it's really going to be, how's WB Productions going to react to this? What are they going to do? What are Netflix and Hulu, all these other services and even production companies, how are they going to react to this? And will they basically can the mandate on productions? So,
And again, that leads me to my question for all you guys. Again, what do you think of all this? Do you agree with Letitia's current decision to not get vaccinated? Do you agree with vaccine mandates of any nature? Again, obviously these are like the topics of our day, right? Like, these are the discussions of our day, of our generation. So leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. So again, now keeping things with Disney, according to Vulture, Disney Plus is adding an IMAX option to 13 Marvel Cinematic Universe films. This means that you'll be able to watch some films in IMAX aspect ratio on your television, which will significantly diminish or even eliminate the black bars on the top and bottom of your screen when you watch certain films. And again, like, obviously there's more room for footage. Disney is boasting that, like, it'll be 26% more picture. Where they got that number from, I have no idea, but I'm not going to pretend like, I know everything in terms of that. And of course, like, when it comes to the films that this option will be applying to, this includes but isn't limited to Iron Man, Black Panther, funny, we were just talking about that, and then, of course, Avengers Endgame. So, again, now, what do you think about this, Darius? Because I think this development comes kind of recently, or comes kind of conveniently, excuse me, as we talked about IMAX exploring streaming options within the last couple of episodes.
Well, looks like they have an answer.
Yeah, I guess so.
But in all seriousness, honestly, a part of me, when it comes to the format specifically, I'm actually pretty excited about this. Like, I'm excited to turn on my TV in the living room and rewatch Endgame in a bigger format, because the TVs today usually have an aspect ratio of 1:77:1. So basically with IMAX, what you're doing, that usual real estate with that ultra wide that we see in a bunch of movies, which is 2:39:1, IMAX is just a lot taller, so you're getting more height. That's really what it is. You're still getting a sliver of a black bar, but it's not as prominent as watching the movies in the usual aspect ratio that I've mentioned before. So for me, I think that's cool. It's not, let's face it, it's not real IMAX. It's not like I'm going into Lincoln Center IMAX theater and being blown away, you know, but seeing that you do get a bit more height in the image, I think is pretty cool. And you see a lot more, because I remember when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, people were harping on that aspect ratio because it was like a 4:3. It was almost a square. And Zack's reasoning was he wanted to give people the height of that immersive experience that you would typically get from IMAX on your own television. And yeah, it was weird seeing the sidebars compared to here, but I was focused and centered in seeing what was going on, and I still thought it looked beautiful for what he was going for. So considering IMAX is now a mixture of both, you have width and a bit of height on some of the biggest MCU movies like Endgame, I think that's going to be interesting to rewatch, especially on my TV in the living room. So I'm already planning a movie night.
Yeah, you know, I can understand that to an extent, because like now I feel like there's like more of a noticeable difference. Because like I know when we talked about IMAX a couple weeks ago in terms of streaming, I made the point too that IMAX isn't just a visual experience; it's an audible experience as well. Because again, nothing will be able to replace the sound that comes out of an IMAX sound system in the theater. But I feel like since there's really going to be like a noticeable difference, right? Like, okay, like, not being able to see those black bars on the top or bottom of the screen, or at least not being able to see them as much, I feel like that's something that could actually make a difference. Will it ever replace the IMAX theater experience? Of course not. And, I think Disney or the IMAX CEO even said, this is not meant to replace the movie theater experience. But I'm thinking to myself, too, like, you keep saying that these things are meant to replace the movie theater experience, right? But you keep fucking doing them. You keep going more and more in the direction of replacing the movie theater experience. Again, you'll never get there. But I feel like you're trying a little too hard to get there for you to say like, oh, this isn't meant to replace that.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to the whole, the aspect ratios and screens, you're really only getting a 26% larger picture than your traditional ultra wide, widescreen movies, really. So even if you do have an 85-inch TV, for example, yes, you're probably going to see a much more noticeable difference, or maybe even smaller TVs. But at the same time, it's like, it's not an IMAX. To me, it's just not a true IMAX theater. Is it exciting? Yes, because I just get more real estate at the top and bottom, and the bezels, as people like to say, are slimmer. So, again, a part of me is, that's cool. Do I think it was necessary? No, but I do like that you just get more of the movie on your TV, especially if you have a really big TV. Because what's the point in having an 85-inch if you're not using the entire 85 inches, or a good chunk of it?
Yeah. So like I said, I think this is sort of the thing that can make like a noticeable difference at least, but like never replace like the actual experience as well. But like it could be cool. Like it could be like a nice little thing to have, but I don't know. Like I said, I just they're fucking with the movie theater experience, and I just
like I'm done.
Yeah, it's like I'm not about it at all. So again, for all you guys, just quick couple questions. Again, what do you think about this new feature from Disney Plus? Like, does it actually make a difference to you? Do you actually care? And is it enough to stop you from going to an IMAX theater showing for like the next big thing that you want to see? comment wherever it is that you can. Before we celebrate the news regarding Stranger Things 4, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, YouTube, and so much more. And now, before we cap off the show by reviewing the new film Belfast, a new trailer was released for Stranger Things 4, which follows 11 and other characters adopting to their new lives outside of Hawkins, Indiana, following the events of Season 3. Now, this new season currently has a Summer 22 release date, and that's all they've given us. And I know what you're thinking, oh, that's not a specific date. Like, why is this a big deal? Because, honestly, this is probably the biggest development that we've had with regards to this release date since Season 3 came out in 2019. Like, it's been, as far as, like, when this is actually supposed to come out, it's been an enigma for, like, the last 2 years. So, what do you think? Like, also, what do you think of the trailer, too?
So, to put it shortly, I'm going to be sleeping after this, and I'll wake up in summer 2022. I'm excited. I've been wanting more Stranger Things. I'm really excited that even if they don't have a date, at least I know, next year it should be here. I swear, if something happens, production, I'm gonna lose it, but at least there's at least there's a time window, because I know a lot of people want dates, but at least there's a time window, so that means May to August.
Yeah.
Any day now. So I'm pretty excited. I think the trailer, honestly, it wasn't what I was expecting for a season 4, but I liked it because it just showed that they're really taking 11 out of what she was in before, really putting her in a whole new element with, a school, an actual proper life, especially after what happened with season 3 and that ending. So I'm intrigued. More explosions, which is not something I was not expecting. I was like, all right, let's not Michael Bay this, but
really,
what?
like,
you got my attention.
Let's not blow this up too much. Let's not, like, end things off like Rome. It grew too big, and it just couldn't really catch up internally. But it's funny that you say that 11 is going into these new situations, and one of the things that I always loved about Stranger Things, especially besides the the horror elements, the nostalgic retro vibes, but they always find a way to take the characters in new directions while giving us plenty of memorable moments too. Like, again, the ending to season 3, priceless. That letter that is written from Hopper to 11, that's read in a voiceover. Oh my god! And I remember too, like the song "Heroes," the rendition of "Heroes" by Peter Gabriel was playing too. And again, "Heroes" is one of my favorite songs of all time. And like I start hearing the music, and I'm thinking to myself, like, that sounds familiar. Then I hear Peter Gabriel saying, I could be king. I'm like, oh no. And I just start bursting out into tears. I'm like, here we go.
You're like, God damn it, they did it again.
It's like, they fucking got me. Like, I made it through the entire show at that point without like crying at all. That one, like, no, it got me in season 3. Fuck.
But yeah, I'm excited. What about you, Joe? What are your thoughts?
I'm pretty pumped. One thing I do want to see too is, like, I remember Eleven's walking through school. She's like, "Oh, I've made all these new friends." They're like, looking at her the wrong way. They're hurling spitballs. I really want to see 11 lose. Maybe this is a little psychotic of me. I really want to see 11 lose her shit on one of these kids. I really do, and just watch her just like unload on one of these little bastards that's just like messing around with her for no reason.
It's not psychotic. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I want that too.
Yeah. We just want to see her harming children. There's nothing wrong with that at all. No, nothing wrong with that.
No, but yeah, I mean, considering how 11 has grown over especially since season 1, like you could definitely tell. Of course, they had their growth spurts. I mean, that's the biggest one.
Yeah, some people are aging better than others. Let's be real. But some people.
But yeah, even her posture and just all of that has changed over the years. So I would love to see almost 11 really fully knowing who she is in season 4, but at the same time, she's not afraid to use her powers in public, because that's what Hopper was really trying to, like, take 11, like, not do this, don't do this in public, don't do that. Where I want to see her, no, she's in public and she's willing to use her powers to a minimal level, like you said, Joe. Maybe to hurt a little kid here and there, but I would like to see her use her abilities a bit more out in public and be more confident about it instead of living in fear of, especially what Hopper was telling. Yes, you still want to acknowledge what Hopper has been teaching her and everything, but at the same time, I think she needs a much more better confident booster, and I think some of season 4 we actually get to see quite a bit of that, and so I'm excited and intrigued to see how she plays out, her love interest, how that plays out now that it looks like they're in different towns.
Yeah, do they grow out of each other too? That's something I always wonder too. Like, because when you're young, you like someone, you think that like, oh, that's it. Like, never gonna like this person, or never gonna like anyone or love anyone more than I currently like this person at age 13, 14 years old. Like, I went through that. I've lost count of how many times I went through that. Not the best of times. But then, like, you grow out of that and, you find something new with your life, someone new with your life, too. And you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe I like this person. Look at what I upgraded to. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious, like, do you think that could possibly happen? Because I think that could be an interesting conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, that, too. And, of course, how's Hopper going to come back? That's the big question.
Yeah,
Where's
like,
Big
yeah,
Daddy?
he's in fucking Russia.
Where is he?
His head's shaved. Like, get the fuck out of here. And, like, here's the thing, too. Like, even at the end of season 3, right, when they had, like, that big explosion in the plant, shows people getting vaporized. You didn't see Hopper, get vaporized. And, like, I knew as soon as I got out of there, but they didn't see that. I'm like, he's still alive. He's alive.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see even if he comes back. So that's the thing. Is he going to come back in season 4? Or are they going to wait till season 5, then bring him back? Or at the end of season 4 and be like, I'm back. Where's my daughter?
All right. All right, that's all right.
So,
I honestly didn't think of that. I didn't think of them doing that. So, all right. So now, again, for all you guys that are with us, are you pumped for Stranger Things 4? Is it too long after Stranger Things 3 for you to still care? Leave your thoughts in that comment section, and on social media as well. And now to cap off the show, I got a chance to watch the film Belfast this past weekend, and this is basically a semi-autobiographical love letter to the film's director and writer Kenneth Branagh. It's a love letter to his childhood, his upbringing, because Belfast follows a year in the life of a working-class family in the late 1960s in Northern Ireland amidst growing social unrest. And one of the things that I want to just start off and say, too, it's they got a great cast, top-notch performances from the cast that includes Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey. Never thought I'd be able to say, like, oh, great performance from someone from 50 Shades of Grey, but I'll keep going on. Ciarán Hinds, Katarina Balfe, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, Judi Dench, and then, of course, Jude Hill. And Darius, you said you did not get a chance to see this movie this past weekend, right?
Yeah, I did not get a chance to see this movie. So,
okay.
Joe, what were your, at least, impressions from the trailer, and did you feel as if you got what the trailer was selling you on for the final product?
Yes, absolutely. The vibes that I got from the trailer was that, there's a lot going to the story, and I felt like, at least from what the trailer gave me, that there'd be a lot of family drama, there'd be a lot of, like, tension with, like I said, all the social unrest, because one of the parts of the story is that at that time in Northern Ireland, there was like a growing division between, like, the Protestants and the Catholics, and at least how it portrays it in the film, the Protestants would, basically discriminate and basically harass and assault and attack the Catholics. They go around, like, mark their doors or whatnot. They, break into their homes. They, they vandalize stuff. It was pretty rough. So you have that, but also too, like, there were a lot of points in the trailer where there was a lot of humor there too. And that was also displayed in the film and the trailer as well. So one of the things that I really did love about this film is that just how much it has going in the story. Nothing ever felt like, overstuffed or, like, underdone, because it's just like a really engaging balance of not just, like, adolescent highs and lows, because it follows, like, this young boy played by Jude Hill, who's terrific. Again, family drama, social unrest, but again, just like, just the humor and all too. Because, like, I just think it's interesting how, like, when you go through certain tough moments in your life, you have to be able to find humor in between. If you're growing up in, like, a situation where, literally just a few houses away or like, blocks away, young kids are dying. But like you're still able to live your life and still find the good in life somehow. I think that's pretty powerful because you can't control what life throws at you, right? You can only control how you handle it. And I feel like now that I really sit and think and talk about this, like this movie really just does a great job of selling that message.
Okay, so when it came to, because I got glimpses of everything you said during the trailer, and it definitely intrigued me. It was it black and white or no?
It was black and white. There's certain parts of the film that are colorized, like when it shows like certain contemporary things, like just to, I guess, just bring you in. But when the majority of the film and like the actual story itself, that's in black and white.
Okay, do you feel as if it being in black and white, considering today's technology and where the industry is going, do you feel that actually enhanced the story, or do you feel as if that was just more of a style choice?
It's probably a little bit of both. I do think it enhanced the story because, especially showing that contrast between, like I said, the colorized, I guess just like establishing shots at the beginning, I guess just showing you Northern Ireland today, and then bringing you back to 1969 Northern Ireland. Like, I think that change from color to black and white is honestly a great way to do that, and it's a pretty clever and simple way to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, how else are we going to bring people in other than just like production design and like soundtrack? Film was a terrific soundtrack. How else are we going to do that? Oh, we'll just do it in black and white. Okay, that's simple enough. And I think too, like I'm really
that's jarring enough.
yeah, right. And I really am happy that they decided to do this in black and white because I feel like people unjustifiably automatically dismiss black and white films. Like some of the greatest films ever made are in black and white. And again, a lot of those films came after a time when color was more than being used. Like obviously, there's Schindler's List. That film, is mostly black and white. A couple of other stylistic things that Spielberg does in terms of color, but that film was mostly black and white. One of the greatest films ever made. Raging Bull. I'm sure you've heard me mention Raging Bull a few times. I'm a diehard Martin Scorsese fan. One of the greatest films of all time. That one, both of those two films are in my top 5 films of all time. So I do think people just like automatically dismiss black and white, and I just don't think it's I don't think it's right. But again, personal preferences, but still.
No, yeah. Like I'm not personally into black and white, but it's like I still appreciate it. That, that's the thing with these color palettes and how some of these directors and editors go about choosing to tell their story is that they do it with a certain intention. So, and I correct me if I'm wrong. Lighthouse was black and white, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How did I forget
and
about
I loved
Lighthouse
it
already?
I still didn't even.
It's fantastic.
It didn't matter. It was just great. So, considering that you're saying that it wasn't it really helped enhance the story too because of the contrasting natures. I think that's pretty amazing in itself. Because I know I've been wanting to see it, but I didn't get a chance to see it this past weekend. So for you, actually, before I get into the actual question, how long was it?
It's not very long. I think if I remember correctly, an hour and 38 minutes. It's not a long film.
Oh, okay. That's shorter than I thought. For some reason, I thought it was 2 hours. Did you feel as if the ending to it, don't spoil it. Obviously, don't spoil it. Do you feel as if the ending was meaty and enticing and gripping, and it wrapped the narrative together tightly as well?
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely do. No, it's funny too because like when you talk about like the story and like how it moves along or whatnot. Like, yeah, I guess to an extent, like, there's, rising actions and stuff like that, but it really is about a year in the life or so of, like, one working class family in Northern Ireland. But it still manages to find a way to, like, bring in, like, tense moments throughout the story and then just, like, have it build up at the end and still leave us with, like, a satisfying resolution. Even, I guess, in, like, the most strict sense of the word, it's not like that typical 3-act structure. Like it really is just like a year in the life of this family as they're dealing with certain things and certain people. But I did walk out of the theater feeling very satisfied and from an emotional point of view.
Okay, for some reason it felt as if they were going for a 3-act structure, but you saying that no, this is it's like yes and no, but it wasn't so reliant on that 3-act structure. It's
yes.
like no, we're just gonna bring you into this story, bring you into their life, and it's gonna end however it's going to end, because I have not seen it.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely got to check that movie out. It's been on my list ever since you sent me that trailer. I was like, you know what? I have to give this a shot.
Yeah, honestly, it's without a doubt, Yeah, I would really give it a shot. In my opinion, it's one of the best films of the year. I completely understand like why it's already getting, awards consideration, because again, like from just how Kenneth Branagh puts this film together, not just from a writing point of view, but from a directing point of view. He, like I said, it's another time where he really uses everything he can: cinematography, production design, costume design, to really bring you into the film. There are, as far as like what I was saying before about the social unrest, the rioting scenes. Holy shit! Like the opening scene is it's a riot scene, and it is crazy. It is crazy just like how impactful he's able to make a scene like that. And just keep in mind, this is a PG-13 film too, so it's not like he's reliant on like graphic, really graphic violence to really sell the point. But you still feel like holy shit, like this is real, like this is like this is fucking real. And so it's like just like what he's able to do with everything to just bring you in and just make you feel everything it is that the characters are feeling too. One of the things that he uses as well is he's got a great soundtrack. It's mostly Van Morrison songs. I don't know if you've ever really listened to Van Morrison, but like much of his music underlies the film. But there's another scene towards the end where there's one scene where Jamie Dornan's character is singing to his wife, and the song that he sings, I'm sure if you look it up, like you can find the clip on YouTube too. But it's just like such a great scene. It's just like very emotional. It's very joyous, and I feel like it just wraps up the film in a beautiful way, or really starts to wrap up the film in a beautiful way, because something beforehand, like the sequence or scene before that scene, is something tragic, right? But after that, like they still managed to find something joyous out of it all too. And again, I feel like that just wraps up the messaging of the film. I feel like that just wraps up, or that really just displays life itself too. And something that I'm never going to forget too, like I went to see this film with someone, not going to embarrass her, but like there are just certain reactions that the two of us had to not just that scene, but other scenes throughout the film. And just like those memories of reacting to certain scenes with not only this person, but also to just like, this just goes to show to the theater experience, right? Like just you go to the movie theaters to experience something with people, like them or not, right? Like, you go to experience something with people. And this movie, despite it not being like a big blockbuster, big budget film, it still manages to sell that. Like, this isn't a Dune, where, we always say, like, oh, something like this you have to see in the theater. Like, honestly, this Belfast is the kind of film that made me realize, like, what? There are more films out there that you really need to see in theaters. And this is one of them.
Wow, what a mic drop, Joe.
My mic's exhausted after that one.
All right, awesome.
But yeah, like I said, I highly recommend this movie. This is, like I said, I don't know if this beats Dune. For me personally, it comes very close to beating Dune, at the very least, for the best film of the year. So yeah,
Dune's pretty up there. So if you're saying that,
yeah, Dune is pretty spectacular. And again, this movie, it hits you differently too. So honestly, props to the cast involved. Props to writer-director Kenneth Branagh. And again, for all you guys that you did actually get a chance to watch this film, what exactly did you think? Like, am I just totally off and everything? Was there something about this film that like maybe you just couldn't connect with for whatever reason? Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. And just like that, that's the show. Episode 30 is done. Feels weird to say episode 30 almost a year later. So now tune in next week for our reviews of Ghostbusters Afterlife, Come On, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Garfield, and King Richard, starring Will Smith. And don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Google Podcasts, Listen Notes, the Podex Index, Stitcher, and more. And follow all of our social media pages in the description. And we'll see you next week.